23 minutes past the top of the hour, time for lunchtime news. However, we apologize for the lateness in beginning this broadcast, but this was necessitated by the swearing in of the IEBC officials who've already taken their oath of office in readiness for the next task. This is KBC Lunchtime News. I'm Doreen. Arange Lusimaura is our sign language interpreter. Now, Manyata Member of Parliament Gitonga Mukunji and two others have been released from custody, each on cash bail of 300,000 shillings or a bond of 1 million shillings by Kahawa Law Court. In consideration of health problems, Senior Principal Magistrate Kip Kimoi Kowech directed that Mukunji and Setra Thiga be taken to hospital of their choice, while the third respondent, Peter Wanjiru, be held in Muthaiga Police Station awaiting processing of cash bail. In the same court, 36 others were arrested during the 25th June and 7th July demonstration that happened in several counties, were also arraigned on charges of terrorism, destruction of property, and causing bodily harm to enforcers.
What therefore remains is for this court to retire and write a ruling taking into consideration the rival views of the parties. This court takes judicial notice that Court 2 is here to sit and deliver pending rulings involving the parties who are here.
Can it then be said that the court can incarcerate and grant the investigator an opportunity to investigate an offense that does not fall within the confinement of Section 2 of the Porters, where there is clear exemption of demonstration, protest, and stoppage?
It is not in dispute that certain acts of vandalism and destruction of property did occur on the 25th of June 2025. Whether or not the accused persons herein were involved in the said act is a question to be determined at trial, if the case will proceed at all. The issue in contention is, however, whether the alleged acts of vandalism and destruction of property can be categorized as terrorist acts.
Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi has defended President William Ruto's administration performance in distribution of resources across the country, speaking at Moy's Bridge area of Uasin Gishu County, where he launched the last mile connectivity for 10,000 households. The Cabinet Secretary also accused the opposition of pushing politics of tribalism and division in the country.
For the first time, I can say that without a fear of contradiction, because we have seen presidents before. It is only Ruto who has demonstrated that he has got the will and the capacity to ensure that there is equity in terms of distribution of national resources.
Tukianza siasa ile tunaanza kuona yenye tunaanza kuchoma inji yetu. Na tunaanza kuongea maneno ya kwetu na cousins. Unataka kuniambia leo sisi hapa Jabali tutakaaje mkituanzia hiyo siasa ya mikawanyiko ya kukawa watu baina ya misingi ya kikabila? Watu hapa mnakubaliana na hiyo siasa? Siasa yenye tunataka ni ya maendeleo. Hii ya stima ama namna gani? Bei ya mbolea ambayo imeteremka shamba iko sawa sawa?
In Tana River County, the leaders there have pledged full support for President William Ruto's second term in office, citing his development agenda. Speaking at Order Village during the launch of the new Tarasa sub-county, Senator Danson Mungatana said the region had seen real progress under Ruto's leadership. He affirmed the commitment to standing by the president, urging citizens to support government initiatives and work with relevant agencies to ensure successful implementation of projects.
Kama viongozi tutaongoza watoto wetu, vijana wetu, wamama wetu, wazee wetu, tumpatie Dr. William Samoei Ruto tamu ya pili.
Wale ambao wanasema rais hana wafuasi, mimi kama mjumbe wa Bura, mjumbe wa Garseni, mjumbe wa Galole, sote tumechaguliwa na tikiti ya Azimio, lakini kwa saa hii tumesema sisi tuko ndani ya serikali.
And now the family of the man captured on video being dragged along the tarmac by police officers towards Juja police station has broken their silence, sharing the pain and trauma they have endured after realizing the victim was indeed their loved one. The man, identified as Harrison Washira, 37 years of age, was allegedly shot during the Sabasaba protest in Juja town, just outside a mechanic shop where he repaired motorbikes.
Speaking at their rented home in High Point, Juja, Esther Mumbi, Washira's fiancée, recalls vividly her last conversation with Washira on that fateful day.
Akaniambia huku ni kubaya. Nikamwambia wewe fanya hivi, funga kazi, usifanye kazi, uende nyumbani, nitakuja nitajua njia yenye nitapitia. Juu sasa na huku hakuna hizi matia gas mingi. Wewe funga hapo, ni riski sana. Akaniambia wacha mimi hata nifunge. Ndio sasa niweze kuenda nyumbani.
She says later Washira told her that the tear gas load was too much and that he was packing up to avoid the chaos, but that was the last time she heard from him.
Kwenda hapo nikauliza mzee mwingine ako na hoteli hapo, nikamuuliza na nikuulize wewe ni beshte ya Washira, umemwona hapa? Kaniambia hapana, lakini nasikia ni kama ni yeye amedushiwa jana hapa kwa Matinga. Nikamwambia tebu niambie vizuri, wewe uko serious na venye unasema? Nasikia alidushiwa ya kifua sijui wapi.
His uncle Kanye Kinywa added that a close examination of Washira's body revealed a gunshot wound on the left side of his throat.
Andika amekanyangwa na watu wakifurutana, lakini hakuna kukanyangwa, mwili yake haijakanyangwa. Ile matope iko nayo kwa nguo ni ile alifurutwa chini kama mnyama. Washira hakwenda kwa mfurutano hiyo ya Sabasaba.
His sister Aisha Wangoi, who described her brother as a hardworking man, also condemned the inhuman act displayed by the police by dragging their loved one on the road.
Namjua Washira, hakuwa kwa maandamano, brother wangu alikuwa kwa kazi yake. Alikuwa kwa kazi yake, anajifanyia kazi yake. Hata hakuwa involved na maandamano. Alikuwa kwa kazi yake, alikuwa anajifanyia kazi yake, alishutua kwa kazi yake. Hata venyewe waskali walikuwa wanamvuruta kama mnyama, wale bila kama mnyama.
Washira's body is currently lying at the General Cargo Funeral Home in Thika, awaiting post-mortem. Kasi Namasha, Lunchtime News.
Kenya's adult education sector is grappling with severe underfunding and outdated data, raising concerns about the country's commitment to inclusive education. Principal Secretary for Social Protection Joseph Motari says there is an urgent need for reforms and renewed focus on adult learning. The PS says the ministry is keen on partnering with county governments and global partners like UNESCO and UNICEF to expand the reach of adult education.
With adult learning education receiving just 0.9% of the basic education budget, outstated curricular stigma and underutilized training infrastructure, compounding this is the absence of current data with the last adult literacy survey done in the year 2006. I don't think this survey is even relevant now. Adult education, ladies and gentlemen, aligns strongly with our national priorities. From the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, better to Kenya Vision 2030, and the SDG 4 on the inclusion and equality education for all.
Now we turn the crack to Keio South in Elgeyo Marakwet, where our very own Timothy Kipnusu is there just tracking the forest reforestation project being undertaken by the president in that particular county. Watch.
A very good afternoon to you, my colleague there at the Broadcasting House. Yes, indeed, I'm coming to you live from Kapchorwa in Keyo South, Elgeyo Marakwet County. This is a very big day in the calendar of Kenya, where Kenyans have flocked here in large number, including a high-profile personality. We had the Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Forestry, Dr. Deborah Baraza, as well as the head of Public Service and Chief of Staff, Felix Koskei, with environmental enthusiasts who have joined in forest conservation here in this particular area. And without wasting any time, I'm joined by a number of partners and those who are really contributing to this particular cause. Head of conservation in WW. Tell us about this important day in the calendar. What is your contribution and how do you see the projection of President William Ruto of planting 15 billion trees in the next 10 years?
Thank you very much. This is the 9th edition of Kaptagat Forest Restoration Program, and this is a program that WWF Kenya is one of the partners. And we are seeing this as a major contribution to the 15 billion restoration program, as well as the other programs to improve community livelihoods. Today we are here as a precursor event to the launch of the 9th edition tomorrow by His Excellency the President. And this year we are at a target of 544 hectares to be put under restoration, among many other livelihoods programs targeted at communities.
What is your message to all those who are really not giving us the right direction in terms of ensuring that we are dealing with all those who are causing degradation of the forest, and of course to deal with the menace?
I think I need to tell each one of us that our environment is our life and our life is our environment. As such, we need every one of us to be part of this initiative to ensure that our environment is safe.
Thank you very much, Jackson Kiplagat. Maybe you can have a word with David Moshai, who is the group CFO of Old Mutual Kenya, just to tell us about this particular day and how you're contributing to this cause.
No, very, very well, very pleased. Old Mutual itself, we've got a target of planting over 3 million trees. So to contribute to the President's initiative, that having a good environment is not just good for our livelihood, it's also good for business. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you think we have the best laws in dealing with environment conservation and, of course, dealing with all those who are really causing crises in this particular cause?
As a country, we are making strides in the right direction. Old Mutual is present in a lot of countries. We've seen a lot of environmental destruction, for example, in South Africa from bushfires. A year ago or so, we paid over 200 million shillings in flood claims. So conserving the environment for us as Old Mutual is not just a human thing, but it's also good for our business. So we take it very seriously. So far, we've planted 200,000 trees. We still have some way to go with our 3 million target, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Thank you very much. There you have it, just a number of Kenyans who have flocked here just to contribute for this particular cause, forest conservation here in Elgeyo Marakwet. As I had said earlier, President William Ruto will preside over the 9th edition of Kaptagat Forest Conservation, an initiative that was started 9 years ago by the Principal Secretary for National Treasury, Dr. Chris Kipto. From me, Timothy Kipnusu, I hand you back to studio. Of course, we will be having a comprehensive coverage of this particular story in our subsequent bulletin. Back to you in studio.
Environmental conservation is there from Elgeyo Marakwet, bracing the chilly, rainy weather just to ensure that they get to their target, where they say that 54 hectares is what they're looking at achieving in terms of planting trees. And I believe this is in relation to the President's directive of 15 billion trees by 2032. Our very own Timothy Kipnusu is our eyes and ears on the ground. And just as he said momentarily, he'll be giving us a detailed report of how this day will have transpired. Thank you very much, Kipnusu, for that. Time for a very short breather. We'll circle back with plenty more, including business and sports. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the business community in Mwea, Kirinyaga County has vowed not to entertain destruction of property during subsequent demonstrations in the town. Speaking in Mwea, the business community led by their chair Anthony Musheka said that an estimated loss of 200 million shillings was incurred during the Sabasaba protest. Musheka said that business owners have since formed their security teams that will work closely with government security agencies to safeguard investments.
Biashara za hao watu marafiki wetu zilipotea sababu wezi waliingia na wakapora mali yetu. Kwa hivyo hawakuwa watu wa kuandamana. Na leo tumesema kwamba tumejihami na tumeamua ya kwamba ile fedha tumetoa ni za kulinda biashara zetu.
But this time we shall not allow it. Period. Either there is police or there is not. We are not relying on the police force.
It's our responsibility then as a government to ensure that our traders are doing their businesses in a very conducive environment, because that is where we generate our revenue from, and that's where our people earn a livelihood.
Na wanasiasa tu ningetaka kuomba wale wanasema one term na wale wanasema two term, wakati ikifika ni biashara kuharibu, sisi hatutakubali. Sema one term yako, sema two term yako bila kuharibu vitu za wenyewe.
Alternative provision of basic education and training schools is urging Parliament to help them acquire legal recognition. APBETs are institutions in Kenya that provide education to those who may not have access to formal schooling, particularly in marginalized areas and in informal settlements.
There have been those challenges of some of the duty bearers having intentions to close the APBET schools in the informal settlements, but we as an association, we have been standing firm to make sure that we advocate and lobby for better policies for these schools in this country. Yeah, now that this bill has reached the participation stage, we shall have more stakeholders making submissions in favor of this bill, and we're looking forward for the bill to go to the second reading, and eventually we shall see it being ascended to a law at the end of the year.
Wito wa serikali kueleza kwamba kuna watoto wengi katika mitaa. Shule ya public peke yake ziko 256 na haiwezi beba watoto milioni 3. Ukipiga hesabu huwezi beba watoto shule milioni 3. Watoto wengi kwa hii mashule ya mitaa ambazo zinaitwa APBET schools. Serikali ikuje partner na sisi tuweze kutembea pamoja, watoto waweze kupatiwa quality education.
The Council of Governors has presented its scorecard citing progress in various sectors such as health, agriculture, infrastructure and disaster preparedness. They, however, decried what they say is inconsistent support from the national government, which hampers the delivery of critical services. COG Chair and Wajir Governor Ahmed Abdullahi, while delivering the annual State of Devolution address, called for better coordination and stronger investment to protect the gains made under devolution.
The governors issuing the State of Devolution report say in the 2024-2025 fiscal year, counties projected a record 600.6 billion shillings in total revenue, with on-source revenue collections reported to have improved by 11% compared to the previous year.
I confirm that the county governments have received the full equitable share totaling 400.26 billion and 16.27 billion for additional allocations from development partners.
In healthcare alone, over 24 million Kenyans have been registered under the new Social Health Insurance Authority, granting access to services in more than 9,300 public facilities. 226,000 health workers are serving across the country, while over 107,000 community promoters are active at the grassroots. More than 8,200 UHC staff are being transitioned to permanent and pensionable. In agriculture, county efforts are reported to have been significantly boosted by avocado and sugarcane production, and over 102,000 farmers received training.
Despite this lower pace, agriculture remained resilient and continue to be a major source of employment.
Counties also reported a sharp decline in disaster impact, with fatalities down 29%, injuries reduced by 64%, and the number of displaced households dropping.
The need for emergency relief diminished, with only 7,948 households assisted compared to over 51,000 the previous year, reflecting lower incidence of disasters.
Infrastructure and digitization made strong strides. Over 12,000 kilometers of roads were constructed, land digitization expanded in several counties, and over 140 renewable energy projects were rolled out. But even with these wins, the governor said there are several challenges, such as delays in fund disbursement, unpaid claims in health facilities, and disrupted donor funding.
We are not burying our heads in the sand. We as county leaders, we are taking bold steps to correct the mistakes and steer the devolution ship steadily.
Devolution is an imperative. Devolution is not a choice. It's a constitutional imperative. It's a chapter in our constitution. Devolution has worked. It's had its challenges like many other.
The Council of Governors now want urgent national action, including timely disbursement from Treasury, resolution of NHIF arrears, and strong intergovernmental coordination.
A police officer from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations almost faced an arrest over claims of tampering with a case in which a director of a company is charged with 350 million shillings. When the matter came up for mentioning before Milimani trial magistrate Dolphina Alego, prosecution sought more time to supply the defense with documentary evidence, with the magistrate declining and instead blaming the investigating officer for derailing the case. According to the charge sheet, the businessman Hani Katwani is accused of stealing the money on diverse dates between January 1st, 2020 and June 30th, 2024 at Babadogo within Nairobi County.
So what was to be done? Your Honor, I was in court when the suspect was arraigned for plea. That was on the 23rd. On the 24th, the matter came up for ruling on bail bond terms before Your Honor. On that day, after appearance here, I was in court. I was in hospital together with the suspect. I'm the IO. So what happens, like after you've done all those things, what are you to do? The matter, as it follows, Your Honor, should come for a quick trial. What I'm saying, Your Honor, is there was no proper guidance on the face of the file. From court. Why are we today? Why are we going today? It was no proper guidance. And why was it here on Tuesday? It was no proper guidance from the court. I apologize for us not appearing here on Tuesday, Your Honor. It might have been an oversight on our side. 22nd and 23rd of October. I think with that we should be done. Unless sasa mnataka kuleta mchezo. So that nothing like, oh, proceedings to be typed.
Yeah.
Oh, the lawyer has changed. The lawyer relocated. The prosecutor has become a judge.
Okay, so it does not become one, so that you proceed.
So 12 witnesses in 5 days.
That is
doable.
Yeah.
If we did 40 in 5 days, why not 12 with 5 days? Yeah? That's okay?
That's
agreeable?
That's agreeable.
They taken by consent?
Yes, yes.
Ama mtaniambia mnaenda the court of appeal.
No.
You have an urgent matter before the court and have nothing against the higher courts.
Time for your business news. And coffee cooperatives reforms will cut off the exploitation of farmers' cooperatives by enforcing governance and leadership. Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya says the ongoing reforms will help cooperatives benefit directly from proceeds of their crop under the new regulations.
Cooperative Bill 2024, which is currently in the Senate, seeks to streamline the cooperative movement in Kenya by entrenching proper governance, ethical leadership, dealing with corruption, and helping societies embrace technology and innovation. The bill, which has stalled at the Senate level, is widely seen as the pinnacle to the problems plaguing the sector. However, there have been some concerns.
Wajuaji katika hiyo sekta ni wengi. Wale ambao tunaita cartels wako katika hiyo sekta. So, na mengine. So tulipoingia wizara tukaona tuanze na cooperative movement.
Speaking in Tigania West, Meru County, during a farmer sensitization forum, the Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya has allayed fears that coffee cooperatives will be snuffed out with the new bill.
Na hizo regulations zinasema mkulima alipwe direct apate 80% na 20% ipake kwa cooperative movement. Na hii 20%, 13% iwe ya cooperative. Na 7% iwe ya watu marupurupu ya watu wengine coffee marketing.
Already, the government set up an audit and verification committee to review the over 9 billion shillings owed by cooperatives in the coffee sector to begin the repayment process.
Tuangalie mahali ambao watu hawakusi kahawa na tunaweza kukosa kahawa hapo mahali. Tuangalie ni investment gani ambao tunaweza kusaidia wakulima ili hii sekta iendelee mbele.
The majority of coffee farms in Kenya belong to smallholder farmers, with over 600,000 of them owning less than 5 acres and account for the majority of the land under coffee cultivation. Alanauko, Lunchtime News.
Water Resources Authority has raised the alarm over illegal water obstruction and pollution along rivers flowing from the Aberdares to Lake Naivasha, warning that the twin challenges are threatening the lake's long-term sustainability. Authorities warn that without urgent intervention, rivers in the catchment may vanish in the next decade. Sub-Basin Coordinator Ruth Fundi says a pegging and marking exercise will soon be launched to guide farmers in line with the 2025 water regulations. At the same time, the Nyandarua County government has allocated 20 million shillings for conservation and is drafting a bill to curb the planting of eucalyptus along riparian zones.
One tributary has very clear color, whereas the other one is quite turbid. And the reason is we have encountered a lot of encroachment. The riparian area is not honored, and the farmers have really done a lot of encroachment, farming along the river up to the bank of the river.
Maji inapungua sababu kitu moja ni deforestation. Ukiangalia kwa mito yetu mingi sana kulikuwa na miti mingi sana from the source mahali ambapo tumetoka. Na unajua maji ikikosa miti ikue exposed to the sun, sasa nini inachukua maji sana, halafu pale mtoni maji haiwezi kutiririka kama tiali the source itself imekuwa intervened with.
Taking into consideration that eucalyptus are water thirsty trees or consume a lot of water, and therefore we need to look at ways where we can look at alternative trees that can be able to be planted within the riparian so that we can protect this.
China's auto production and sales have surged in the first half of the year, a strong indicator of robust domestic consumption in the world's second largest economy. According to China Association Automobile Manufacturers, auto sales jumped beyond market expectations due to improving economic and market situations in the world's biggest auto market. More details in our international business news.
The Chinese government has boosted expansion of the domestic auto market, with electric vehicles maintaining rapid growth production in sales, each surpassing 15 million units year on year. New energy vehicles were a major driver, with production jumping 41.4% to nearly 7 million units and sales rising by 40.3%, making up 44.3% of all new car sales. Auto exports also saw significant growth, increasing by 10.4% to over 3 million vehicles, with NEVs accounting for over 1 million of those exports, a 75.2% surge from last year. Meanwhile, oil prices have hacked after US President Donald Trump indicated an upcoming announcement about Russia. This raised the possibility of new sanctions on one of the global major oil producers. Analysts are also claiming that the new sanctions may not have the intended consequences, with the Russian economy already transitioning into a war economy. However, concerns about tariffs and increased output from increased supply from OPEC helped constrain price increases. Brent crude is up to over $69.08 a barrel, with U.S. West Texas Intermediate also higher at $67.09. This follows a more than 2% drop on Thursday, driven by investor concerns over President Trump's tariff policies affecting global growth and oil demand. Finally, global trade grew by an estimated $300 billion in the first half of 2025, but at a slower pace, according to the UN report. It further warned that the outlook is uncertain due to policy instability, geopolitical tensions, and weakening global growth expected in the second half. With global trade growing by 1.5% in the first quarter of 2025 and projected to rise to 2% in the second quarter, services trade continued to drive this growth, up by 9% over the past year. The report further reveals mixed trends in merchandise trade among major economies in the first quarter of 2025, with developed economies outpacing developing countries, primarily driven by a 14% surge in U.S. imports and a 6% rise in EU exports.
Time for your sporting action, and Tusker FC captain Charles Mamanyi has set his eyes on the upcoming 2025-2026 Football Kenya Federation Premier League season after extending his stay with the Ruaraka-based side. The defender penned a contract extension that will see him stay at the club for one more season and is focused on helping the team to do better in the new season. The experienced central defender has been a rock at the heart of the Tusker backline and a leader both on and off the pitch since joining the club. In the concluded season, he scored 4 goals as he helped the team keep 15 clean sheets in 33 appearances, missing just the 2-1 loss to Mathare United in April, and was named the club's best player of the month of March.
Umebusu mtambao panye Rambo bado na mali ile. Mwamuzi anasema tayari madhambi alikuwa ametendeka.
In the quarterfinals of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations after 1-0 victory over Botswana in a thrilling encounter played at the Stade Labi Zoli in Casablanca.
For Nigeria to seal it, that's a super save.
Chiwendu Jesus scored the lone goal in the 89th minute with an assist from Esther Okoronkwo.
Yes, look at nice 1-2 through the heart.
The victory put Nigeria top of Group B with a perfect record and assured them a top 2 finish after North African rivals Tunisia and Algeria played to a goalless draw.
With 89 minutes on the clock, Nigeria make the breakthrough. At long last, they have tried.
Botswana still have yet to earn a point after defeat in their opening match against second place Algeria. Nigeria will look to secure a top spot with either a victory or draw against Algeria on Sunday. Botswana, with 2 defeats in 2 games, must win to have any chance of advancing to the quarterfinals when they face Tunisia on the same day. Cynthia Otieno for Lunchtime News.
These 2 players combine on the opening day against Tunisia, and how they've celebrated, and you're punching the air, Desara, for those.
The Wanda Diamond League is set for today at the Stade Louis II in Monaco, with Kenyan athletes in pursuit of more glory. The Olympic 800-meter champion Mary Moraa will hope to pick herself from the pre-14 disappointment and came out victorious in the 1,000 meters, where she will feature alongside Nelly Chirchir, who won the 1,500 meters in Doha. The men's 800 meters Olympic champion Emmanuel Wanyonyi will headline the 800 meters, where he is going for another triumph after recording 2 wins in the Diamond Circuit this season. Afternoon, we appreciate you for your valid company. We do not take that for granted. This has been KBC Lunchtime News. I'm Doreen Arange. Lucy Maura has been our sign language interpreter. Good afternoon.
Habari muhimu ni zile zinazoathiri maisha yako, na zinapojiri tuko hapo.
Tunakuletea habari zinazojiri nchini na kimataifa.
Hakuna kabila ambayo iko hapa Kenya kwa mwaliko ya mwingine.
Mambo ya matibabu isiwe starehe ya watu wadosi.
Tunakufahamisha kila wakati ili uwe tayari kwa yajayo.
We will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
Katika ulimwengu unaosonga kwa kasi, usahihi wa habari ni muhimu.
The only thing that has changed, Senator Khalwale, is that you are defending the indefensible.
If you allow me as a bullfighter, I'll fix him here and now and it will be sorted out.
You were doing very well until you brought out your character of bullfighting.
Tunakupa habari sahihi na zisizoegemea upande wowote.
Pindi tu walioteuliwa wataidhinishwa na bunge la kitaifa.
Na ni hapa ndipo
Darubini,
kila siku ya Jumatatu na Jumanne
saa 1 jioni.
Boni, na kuona na kuku wako hapo nani na mayai ya kwangu.
Basi wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tunajifunza jinsi ya kumfuga kuku wa kutaga.
Kisha tujipe maarifa na namna ya kutumia mabanda kwenye ufugaji wa kuku.
Mimi naweza waambia ukulima wa kuku iko na faida. Because watu wanakula kila siku. Watu wanakula mayai sana. Watu wasiogope kufuga kuku ati hakuna market iko.
Ungana nasi Jumamosi hii saa 10:30.
Tukupe uhondo kamili kuhusu ufugaji.
Hapa KBC Channel 1.
We want to check on the realities of cross-cultural or even nationalities kind of marriages, the setup, the parenting, the blessings, and also the challenges that come with it.
It was like, from Nigeria, you say?
Did you go the Nigerian way? Did you go the Meru way? Did you have a cocktail?
I was serving my in-laws cake. They refused to take it.
Wow.
Yeah, they were like, you don't serve with your left hand. It hasn't been a rosy path because these were two different kinds of independencies being shaken, and then now we're trying to come together and become one.
Alinisikiza, alikusikiza, nilimpoza. Yaani, ulikuwa umekwenda kupiga gumzo naye?
Nakwambia, na wasichana macho kwa watu kapima. Kama ya kinyonga nakwambia.
Nimeamua kutoa mpya.
Na wewe tayarisha kwa uamuzi wangu.
Uamuzi wa nini?
Nataka kukupatia furaha na mali.
Sihitaji furaha yako, na wala mali pia sihitaji.
We are facing a lot of complex challenges these days, but sometimes the answers can be surprisingly simple. Simplicity often has the benefit of being more widely affordable too. Hello and welcome to a new edition of Eco Africa. I am Chris Lems in Lagos, Nigeria. Great to have you with us. Here's what's coming up. Pencils that are saving trees in Serbia. Providing clean drinking water in Cameroon. How indigenous medicine is helping farmers in Ghana. And supporting flood victims in Nigeria. Here, flooding is an increasing severe problem, and Lagos, as well as nearby Lagos states, are among places hard hit. Our reporter went to find out more about the causes of the problem and what can be done to help.
During rainy season, this is a common sight in Lagos. Even with just moderate rainfall, streets often get flooded quickly. In Lagos, water is never far away. The city and the state are located on the coast surrounding a lagoon which several rivers flow into. In recent years, many residents have had to leave their homes due to flash flooding, like here in this neighborhood in Ikorodu in the north of Lagos State.
Since 2019, every year after that, we've been experiencing flood. I am still here because this is my house. That's why I'm here. So those who do not have the means to, protect their house had to leave.
Authorities say that the houses in the flooded areas were built without necessary permits. It is not the government's responsibility, they say, to warn residents of the dangers.
As a state, we will not deal with illegal or those people that build their houses where they are not supposed to build their houses. Those people that does not have permission. No government parastatals will give you a permission to build a house in such a place that is prone to flood.
But flooding is occurring more regularly, even in those areas with legally built houses. A key reason is, of course, Lagos's tropical climate. Heavy downpours are not uncommon during the rainy season. But in the past few decades, weather patterns here have changed. Rainfall has become less frequent but far heavier as a result of climate change. Here, temperatures in the atmosphere absorb more moisture, which leads to more intense precipitation. On top of this, Lagos City has expanded massively over the past century on flood-prone marshlands and floodplains. Lagos's coastline and waterfronts have been dramatically transformed since colonial times, making the problem worse.
There's been rapid urbanization developments in Lagos State. As you know, it's a very small state, less than 2,000 square meters, but has over 20 million people. And you know what that means for development. So every space, people just want to find a way to build their houses. And it does not help that we do not have the vertical style of building. We still build very horizontally, so we take up all the spaces and leave little or no space for drainages or for natural absorption of water.
So when it rains in Lagos, the water cannot be properly drained from the streets. Drains are often poorly built and blocked by rubbish, which is all too often dumped on the streets. In early 2024, the Lagos State government introduced a ban on single-use plastics like styrofoam packaging to tackle the problem. There has been more improvement, but the problem still persists. That is why this NGO is taking things into their own hands.
They will just throw it on the floor. Our activities now is to make sure that this doesn't get into our drainages, this doesn't get into our canals, so that it doesn't get into our creeks and it doesn't get on our beaches. So we're starting from educating people, we're starting from reorientating people and sensitizing them that this is a possible resource for you. This is value if channeled to our recycling streams in Lagos, so that it will not be in the drainage.
Raising awareness is as important as warning people when there is a threat of flooding. That requires adequate monitoring and warning systems. This is still a work in progress.
We have systems where we monitor the river, the level of river. So we do have a couple of them around the city, though I will quickly agree that they are not enough.
Lagos is projected to be the world's biggest city by the end of the century, and large parts of its metropolitan area are at risk of flooding. More than half of residents are believed to live within 500 meters of the coast or the lagoon. How is Lagos trying to cope with this special geographical setting? Eco Atlantic is an area on the city's coastline that was reclaimed from the Atlantic Ocean. It was intended to become Africa's Dubai, but construction is stalling. For years, the area has been a ghost town with just a few high-rise buildings aimed at the wealthy. To protect Eco Atlantic residents from erosion and storm floods is the Great Wall of Lagos, but experts say it will shift erosion to low-income coastal areas. And aside from erosion, climate change is an ever-present threat for all Lagosians. Take, for example, Makoko, situated on the Lagos Lagoon, an informal settlement built partly on stilts. Those houses are less affected by temporary rises in water levels, but storms, flash floods and rising sea levels still threaten the residents' already precarious livelihoods. To prevent further disasters like the one in Ikorodu in the North Lagos state, change is needed. Unclogging gutters is only a small, first step. Developers need to allow for wetlands areas in the city. And of course, above all, the international community needs to urgently curb global warming.
To Europe now, where a Serbian couple have rewritten their careers by launching a business that produces eco-friendly pencils. Here is this week's Doing Your Bits.
These old newspapers are getting a second life as colour pencils. It's a simple but effective process. Serbian entrepreneur Slavica Markovic spent a long time perfecting the product. She even gave up her career to start a company with her husband Dragan. Our company has several missions. Our first mission is to make environmentally friendly products. But beyond that, our second mission is to educate young people. Because we don't just want children to buy and use our pencils, we want them to learn about eco-friendly practices through using them. The machines the Markovics use for production were designed by the couple themselves. The pencils are rolled in eco-friendly flour-based glue. To save energy, they don't use ovens. Instead, they leave the pencils to air dry for 2 days. Turning newspapers into pencils isn't a new idea, though. In fact, Africa was ahead of the game. A company in Kenya has been making pencils from newspapers for years. Recycling saves trees. To produce just 1 ton of paper, 24 trees are cut down. In Serbia, the Markovics process 4 to 5 tons of newspaper a year, producing around 3,000 pencils a day. In just a few years, their eco-friendly pencils saved the equivalent of a small forest. Our packaging tells buyers who we are. On the back of our boxes, we explain that our pencils are fully recycled. No new trees were cut down to make them. Our manufacturing process is energy efficient, and our pencils are safe to use.
Livestock farming also takes its toll on trees as land is cleared for grazing or to cultivate animal feed. And meat production contributes to greenhouse gas emissions in other ways. Now, cattle, for example, emit large quantities of climate-damaging methane. But there is another climate-friendlier solution in the horizon.
Creamy camembert that hasn't used milk from a cow, slaughter-free steaks, and chicken breasts grown from cells.
Changing food is always like multi-layered in a sense because it's so deeply ingrained in our culture and who we are.
Some countries and US states have even preemptively banned it, concerned it could phase out traditional agriculture. But that's kind of the point. The livestock industry accounts for a fairly large share of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Lab-grown products could put us on the road to redemption. But how are they made, and when will they actually hit our supermarket shelves? There is cultured meat grown from animal cells. The Israeli firm Aleph Farms say their beefsteaks are close to being rolled out.
Yes, our product is ready to go. The quality and level of sensory properties, mainly taste, flavor, and texture, is very high.
This place, Formo, is as modern and trendy as you'd expect from a Berlin startup. Formo has focused on creating proteins which mimic whey and use that in a traditional cheese-making process. The taste test is coming up, but first let's dive into why this quest to find alternatives exists in the first place. Just how much the livestock industry contributes to climate warming greenhouse gases depends on who you ask. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization's most recent report cited 12%, but other studies suggest figures as high as 20%. Whatever the number, climate scientists consider methane emissions particularly concerning. They can be 80 times more harmful in terms of heating the atmosphere than CO2. And livestock accounts for about 30% of the world's methane emissions, largely through cow burps. Deforestation, land and water use, and livestock feed are also major concerns.
It makes more sense to produce plants and eat it directly than to feed it to animals.
An early study by Oxford University in 2011 reported cultivated meat could produce up to 96% fewer greenhouse gas emissions than livestock, thanks to using less land, water and feed. But the numbers here are also contested. Some studies claim cultivated meat and dairy will need to be run on renewable energy sources if they are to retain lower emissions. To come closer to actual dairy, Formo uses what's called precision fermentation, the evolution of a process dating back thousands of years. They take koji, a type of fungi which is used a lot in Japanese cuisine, feed and ferment it to create a protein similar to whey, and then turn it into cheese. The company also plans on using an animal-free casein protein, but that first needs EU approval.
A product like cheese, where it is already a processed product when you start with milk, that there is a fermentation process already involved in the regular production of the product. There, I think it's easier to say, hey, there's just another fermentation step before that, to kind of get people to convert in that sense.
Maybe we should just dig straight in and
let's do it. We have a Greek feta cheese.
So this one, I'd say the texture is a little bit still like away from like what you would expect from the feta.
Yeah.
But the taste, like the saltiness and everything, it's really there.
Rafa says it will initially be 10 to 20% more expensive than mid-range cheese. So we're still talking luxury prices for most people, but it's not outrageously expensive either. And Rafa claims Formo's cheese will eventually sell for cheaper than traditional dairy.
Fermentation is just more efficient with resources than animals. Much more efficient, actually. The question of the cost and the price pretty much is only a factor of scale.
All right, that's the cheese. But what about that highly sought-after steak? There are quite a few companies out there working on cultured meat, from beef to chicken to fish to foie gras. Aleph Farms is just one of a handful that already have approval to sell their lab-grown meat, in their case, in Israel. The company said they will roll out within the next year, but admitted it will be a luxury item to begin with, sold in high-end restaurants at a price similar to premium range beef.
It might take 10 years to get to the mainstream market. It won't happen overnight, just because it takes time to build production capacity, to drive the costs down, to build the supply chain.
Studies show customers are still skeptical about how this alternative meat is made. Aleph Farms say they are following the same basic principles of fermentation, only they start with animal cells, feed and nurture them in a bioreactor until they replicate only the edible part of animals.
We do eat animal cells when we eat meat products. So it's the same cells, the same ancient time-honored cell cultivation technique, and we just merge the two to make a new combination. The cells we use are not genetically engineered.
Italy's parliament moved to ban the production, sale or import of cultivated meat and animal feed in 2023. The US states of Florida and Alabama followed suit with their own bans in 2024.
I love that they banned it because that shows it's real. Why would you ban something that you don't believe is going to become relevant in the marketplace? So it's also a great signal, I think, that says like, damn, big meat is really concerned with this. The farming lobby is really concerned about that.
The reasoning from politicians is that traditional agriculture has to be protected.
We're speaking with the traditional dairy and farming industry to grow proteins in a fermentation tank and to produce these products. You need nutrients. Nutrients are coming from our fields. So you will always have traditional farming as you know it.
The market for these animal-free alternatives is still very small, but if they can convince consumers' taste buds and bank balances, more people may jump on board, which can only be good news for the world's climate.
I'd like to try. Traditional approaches are just as effective as high-tech ones, and they're often easier and quicker to implement. In northern Ghana, animal breeders use indigenous knowledge to cure their sick animals with scientific backends.
Timbia Gabambil is deworming his. The livestock farmer uses indigenous medicines and all based on knowledge passed down to him by his grandparents. Here in Nakpasalugu in Ghana's Upper East, vulnerable to diseases, livestock infection.
That I'm making, so I have to get my whole with other native them several doses over 3 days. Kills the worms.
Medicinal herbs is invaluable. Their herds is part of a project. Veterinary medicine. Center for town of far from the capital. Scientists are investigating the healing properties of native plants. The government originally established the facility to provide alternative health care to local people. Now it's carrying out research into animal health. But the laboratory here has been studying the chemical and pharmaceutical properties of plants for some time now.
Our focus was to look out for what is the chemistry of these plants, what is the biological activities of these plants, and relate them with the diseases that these farmers or innovators claim to be treating with.
Ghana, 10% of livestock succumb to disease. In a country with few trained veterinarians, farmers often rely on the advice of cattle herders and other locals who recommend medicines sold in open markets like this one. The unregulated misuse and overuse of antibiotics can lead to high levels of antibiotic residues in animal products, and it can encourage antibiotic resistance, which affects the health of both livestock and people who consume animal products. Meanwhile, 75% of livestock in Ghana are resistant to the antibiotics used to treat them. At the same time, many livestock owners don't trust herbal medicines, which aren't scientifically tested and don't come with a company leaflet and packaging.
Once we provide this information where this project is aiming at, that would provide this evidence that these herbal medicines work against the disease that we are studying, we would be able to prove that these medicines or innovations are good.
As a participant in the project, Timbia Gabambil no longer has to rely on the plants in the forest. The project gave him exclusive use of an herb garden. He's one of a selected group of herbalists who from the Ethno-Veterinary Medicine Project. On this protected patch of land, he's planting a variety of native plants, including mahogany and oak trees and dawa-dawa.
To find. There aren't any more of them nearby. That's why the project is helping us to both plant and protect them, so that when we need them, they'll be easily available.
Native plant gardens are an eco-friendly source of medicines for traditional practitioners like Timbia.